Ryan Day's insistence of players stepping up is key for Ohio State to be battle ready for Texas.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Tuesday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. During today's show, I will let you know why I am not upset about where Ohio State fell in the preseason AP poll, as well as if Austin Siereveld will have the new position in 2025. But first, the Buckeyes have completed 9 full practices during training camp, and they have been very physical. They have had to ramp things up pretty quickly because the Buckeyes have a real team they're playing week number 1. And while they're playing Texas week 1, there are things that Ryan Day wanted to see during the first scrimmage, but also he's realizing there's still more to do. There's still more work to be done. And while there's more work to be done, Ryan Day is acknowledging the growth that the team has had during training camp, but he's also saying, I still need some of y'all to still step up. And Ryan Day being very open and public about players still needing to step up and trying to figure out who is going to start. And there are still some spots that aren't set in stone right now. That's not a problem. That is what you want. You want your coach to come up after the 9th full practice and say, we have done a lot of good things, but there's more work to be done. We are not where we need to be ready for Texas in week 1. So while I am happy with where we are, I am not settled. There's no time to rest. We got to keep moving forward. And if I am Julian Sayin or Kienholz or Malik Hartford or Jalen McClain or one of the other Buckeyes in the midst of a position battle, I am hearing Ryan Day say that to the media. I'm taking it to heart, and I'm going back to work, getting back in the lab, and get ready to go to battle and to grind a little bit more so I can cement my spot in the depth chart and not cement it at the number 2 spot, but at the very top spot of my position. Because there are a lot of players on Ohio State's team that are trying to move up the depth chart. I mean, everybody, you're not there just trying to be sitting there at the bottom. No, you're trying to move up. You're trying to show everybody in their mama that you have what it takes to play this year every single week. Well, if you're Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles, your spot is cemented. However, you're a leader on the team. Sonny Styles is a 4-year Buckeye. Arvell Reese played a lot last year, going to be a starter for Ohio State in 2025. So you are looked at as a guy that's going to be a huge piece of the pie. Well, if you're a huge piece of the pie and you're not answering the call, you're not stepping up when Ryan Day is insisting you step up, what do you think these freshmen are going to do? Or the sophomores are going to do? Or let's just say if you're in the defensive tackle position and Edric Houston was out, and now Will Smith Jr. had his name called at Big Ten Media Days, but then there's other guys, Jason Moore, Tavon Malone Jr., and others that are still trying to move up and cement their spot in the rotation at defensive tackle. You can't just sit here and say, oh, man, my name was said at Big Ten Media Days, and I'm good. I can just sit back, relax, kick my feet up, give me a glass of lemonade, and just call it a day. No, you got to keep working. Now, Ryan Day mentioned that the team has done some good things, but they're still grinding, while also discussing that Kienholz is done and saying he needs more information on the quarterback battle. And, I mean, is that coach speak? Maybe. He literally used those words, needing more information to describe where he is right now at the QB battle. That's kind of coach speak to me. Yeah, you got some information. You've watched the film. Surely, the practice was, I believe, on Saturday. You're not going to have that scrimmage on Saturday and not watch the film either that evening or the very next day. You're not going to do that. So you've watched the film. What's the more information that he needs? Consistency. I mean, it's the biggest thing Ryan has been asking for since the spring. He needs consistency from Kienholz, from Sayin. They're both getting reps right now, but similar to other positions, he needs those guys to step up. Now, we say this a lot with defensive tackles or the offensive line a year ago, where you need guys to step up. And I remember this time last year, the big question about the offensive line wasn't who was going to start, but if the backups were going to be competent. And were they going to be sound on the field? What did we find? The backups were competent and they were strong on the field, not just sound on the field. They were a force out there, from Luke Montgomery to Hinchman to Siereveld. They were a force. And even having to move Donovan Jackson from left guard to left tackle, that was a strong, strong unit. You literally won the national championship, which with only one starter in this normal position, I've never put it in that way before, but that's what happened. So for this year, you can look back to last year and say, well, Ohio State needed the backups to come up big due to injury, and they did that. Well, if Ryan Day is saying they need guys to step up, that's not just the guys that are trying to move up a depth chart and to be the Siereveld or the Montgomery or the Hinsman of this year. No, it's also the older guys because everybody has more work to do. Jeremiah Smith isn't settled with where he is. Carnell Tate isn't ready to just call it quits. Kenyatta Jackson Jr. He still has more to prove. Bo Atkinson, he ain't been on campus that long. He has a lot to prove to everybody. These guys have a lot to prove. And so when Ryan Day gets up there behind the podium and starts discussing things that happened during the scrimmage and say, there's this that happened, there's that happened, but he goes on and says, hey, man, this is the big week to take the next step for us. I think the effort's there. I think the overall execution's got to improve. Each side of the ball has their things that they need to grow up on. This is kind of the last week to do that because after this week, we'll have our scrimmage on Saturday. It's not just complete Texas from there, but it's getting close. And I'm very glad that Ryan Day is not shying away from the reality that you're less than 3 weeks away from the number one team in the country coming to Columbus, Ohio to do battle, to go to war with Ohio State. And also, they want payback. They want the payback that Ohio State got to Clemson in 2020. Remember, let's look back and try to bring up a negative mark in our fandom, but let's just be honest about something here. In 2019, Ohio State was literally one good read away from going to the national championship. It would have been LSU versus Ohio State, and that would have been a battle. And I'm not here to say Ohio State would have won that game, but I would love to see those 4 quarters played. But what happened? Literally, Justin Fields goes back. Chris Olave goes one way. The ball goes the other way. Nolan Turner, the safety from Clemson, gets the interception. Game over. They win the thing, go on to the Natty. Well, in 2020, Ohio State wanted that payback, but they had to get to the playoff first. Got to the playoff. They got that payback, and they went to the national championship that year. And so this is kind of how Texas is right now. The difference is this is a regular season game, not a bowl game. The difference between those two things, Ohio State had the same quarterback. And I think Clemson had sunshine. Trevor Lawrence in 19 to 20 as well. So Ohio State had the similar as a lot of guys are on that 19 team, on the 20 team. Well, Texas and Ohio State have a lot of new faces in new places. They both have new starting quarterbacks. We know Arch Manning is starting for Ohio State. Not sure who's going to start for the Buckeyes yet, but while there are new faces in new places, the coaches are the same. Texas has a lot of the same assistant coaching staff too. Ohio State has some new faces on the assistant coaching staff, but a lot of the same guys that were there last year are there right now. And so there's a lot riding on this game outside of it being a top 5 matchup, top 3 matchup in the country. These are two big boy teams, and Texas wants their payback. And when you know that Texas wants payback and Sark wants to beat Ohio State and Ryan Day, what do you have to do now to prepare for battle in the future? Step up. Now, every rep, in every second, every single day, you must step up. Because if you're grinding and getting better now, working on your craft now, you're going to be more well-equipped for battle against Texas. Speaking of being more well-equipped for battle against Texas, there may be some shakeup going on with the offensive line, and it's all going to be maybe focused on where Austin Siereveld might land on the Buckeyes starting offensive line. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% with their killer last-minute deals. Tired of endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal? Game Time Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. Worried about what happens and if plans change? The Game Time Guarantee has your back with cancellation protection and more. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. We are very, 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 very close to hitting another milestone right here at Locked on Buckeyes as we are inching closer and closer to hitting the 5,000 subscriber mark on the YouTube. It is free for you to subscribe. It doesn't take anything, just a couple of seconds. Go there on the YouTube, search Locked on Buckeyes, and if you have not already subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that notification button so you get alerted every time a new video goes live. And if you're an Apple or Spotify or an audio podcast listener like yours truly, go ahead and hit that follow button on that app. Just search Locked on Buckeyes and hit follow so you don't miss a beat. Ohio State has a very good opportunity this year to have a better offensive line in 2025 than they had in 2024. Now, in 2024, you only got the full offensive line for 5.5 games, I'd be the full 6 games because Simmons got hurt in the Oregon game. But when you had those 5 together, that offensive line was one of the best units in the country. Well, this year, Ohio State having an opportunity to have one of the best O-lines in the country, or a better O-line than last year, that's something that can happen. But to make that happen, you got to have the right guy at left tackle. That's maybe where you want to start. Of course, you can start at center because if you have a bad center and he's not the quarterback of the offensive line, that could lead to disaster. But with the Buckeyes at left tackle, the belief was for a long time that Ethan Ananwa, the Rice transfer, was going to be the Buckeyes starting left tackle. Back in the spring, Ryan Day made it very, very clear that Austin Siereveld is going to start this year. It was just trying to figure out the right spot for him to play. And then as we get into training camp, he's on the right side. And he's now at the left side. And Ryan Day recently said that Austin Siereveld is playing exclusively at left tackle. And right tackle might be down to either Ethan Ananwa or Phillip Daniels. I know there was a thought that maybe somebody else might be able to battle with those two guys, meaning Siereveld, because Ananwa was projected to be the starting left tackle, Siereveld on the right side. I am not the biggest fan of Siereveld being there at left tackle, but when you're an Iron Buckeye and Ryan Day and Mickey Mariotti, they go and look at all the measurables and say he has a size, he has a length. Does he have the quickness? Is he good on an island, especially that island when you're going up against the other team's best edge rusher? For me, in my liking, I think Austin Siereveld's best position would be at guard. I am not sold that Tegra Shabola is a guard right now. I also am not sold that he has a quickness to be a tackle. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen. I know Shabola is at guard now, at least projected. I know Ryan Day said that Anan was getting work at guard and tackle. I think Phillip Daniels, the Minnesota transfer, is getting some run at guard and tackle as well. Right when I thought we were getting a handle on the offensive line, Ryan Day throws another curveball. It's a curveball that I wasn't expecting. For me and my liking, I think Ananwa should be left tackle. Will he be an All-American? I don't know. I have no idea because the jump from G5, especially at Rice, to the Ohio State level, that trajectory is pretty steep. And so I literally have no idea if now is going to be a dude at left tackle. But he's a body for it already. He already has done some decent things at left tackle at his previous stop, but there were times that he played right tackle previously. And that may be why maybe his footwork, maybe his hand placement, maybe even his own vision is better on the right side than the left. So a guy that's primarily been on the right side. Now, Siereveld did play a little left guard last year, but he played a lot of right guard too. A guy that you thought you were working with on the right side is now going to the left. Is that a sign of disaster for Ohio State's offensive line? I don't think so. I think it's a sign that Ryan Day believes he knows who the right five are and is putting those right five in the right positions. And I've said this before, and I'm not trying to be just some Debbie Downer guy. No, I just firmly believe if you say you have the best five offensive linemen, okay, because sometimes your best five offensive linemen are not the right five for the team. I think Ryan Day realizes, well, a non-one Daniels can play. Siereveld's going to start. He was an Iron Buckeye. You're not going to start a guy. You're not going to have a guy be a backup, especially in his role. After the role he played a year ago for the Buckeyes O-line, you're not going to have him be a backup when he was an Iron Buckeye and did a lot of good things this year. I wonder, though, aside from the tackle situation and the guard situation, if it sounds confusing, it's because it is. Because there have been some different configurations, there have been some different projections, there have been different things that have come out where you're like, why is that happening? Luke Montgomery is still there at left guard. He is going to start. I don't think there's any debate at all that Luke Montgomery is going to start at left guard. I don't think it's really a debate that Hinsman's going to be the starting center. There's four guys trying to fill three spots. It seems like right now, Siereveld, at least with him exclusively being at left tackle, and you're not going to have a guy be exclusively at left tackle now, unless you're probably going to start him at that position because you're less than 3 weeks away. You're not really experimenting and trying to move guys around and cross-train right now. No. What are you trying to do? Fine-tune. You're trying to fine-tune everything. And so I think Siereveld at left tackle, if that's what you feel is the best for the team, okay. I'm not saying it's going to be a disaster. I'm going to say Ohio State can't win a lot with it. I just wonder if they can win against the big teams, the best teams out there. There was a time, I forget the year, 21 or 22, where Ohio State started 4 tackles and a guard. And it was one where you could literally see these guys are not flexible enough. These guys can't get low enough. They were quick enough on the edge at times, but was it Thayer Mumford or Petit Frere that got beat on at one play? I don't know, but it was one of them plays. Aiden Hutchinson just ran right through the chest of an Ohio State tackle. I think it may have been Thayer Mumford, but why? Well, if you move guys around a whole lot and they never get comfortable, or you move guys around and you put a guy in a spot that he's not really the best for, it could be a disaster. My hope for Ohio State's offensive line is that they start to get some clarity about where guys are going to go. And while they get clarity about where guys are going to go, they stick them there. They put them there. And they don't try to cross-train or work with somebody's secondary position where they're not going to play that on Saturday because they're going to stay with their primary position. I hope moving forward, Ryan Day just sticks to, okay, Siereveld, if you're exclusively at left tackle, cool, you're there. Montgomery, left guard, cool, you're there. Center for Hinsman, cool, you're there. At guard, and we know Chabola's now getting work at tackle too, figure out the guard spot. Figure out the tackle spot. If that means that Siereveld goes to guard because he's not the best guy to play tackle, I'm not mad about that. But find out where guys should go and let them stay there. Because you're a little bit too close to week 1 to be tinkering with even positions. I get position battles, but if I'm a right guard and I go to right tackle, my foot work is different. My hand placement is different. My stance and my get off is different. There are so many details of playing offensive line that if you go from right guard to right tackle, that could be a big enough shift to where you can't overcome some of the hurdles that are out there for Siereveld. If this man's a Swiss Army knife like a Paris Johnson Jr., great. I'm not saying he's that caliber of player, but Paris Johnson Jr. was literally a Swiss Army knife. Homie went from playing, I think it was right tackle at one point, started as a right guard, play left tackle. He never played the same position for 2 years in a row and was still a top 10, top 5 pick in the NFL draft. That's unheard of. So I'm not saying Siereveld that. If he is truly the Swiss Army knife, what is the weakest link? If it's left tackle and you are 100% sure he can play there, put him there. But if you aren't, don't do it. Don't do it at all. If he's the best option, go for it. But if somebody else is a better option at that position, move Siereveld somewhere else. We know he's going to start. Just trying to figure out where that position is going to be on the field. The Buckeyes, we know their position in the preseason AP poll, and honestly, I'm not mad about it. Will you be when we unveil the preseason AP poll after the break? Stick around to find out. Thank you all for tapping and Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Those of you that watch on the YouTube, I know we don't wear these glasses. You're probably wondering, Jay, why are you wearing the bigger rim glasses? You may want to call them the Urkels that I wear in my collection. One, I rarely wear them, so they feel pretty brand new. But I may wear these a little bit more. The other glasses that I wear, the lenses have been kind of annoying at times, a little bit fuzzy and cloudy. So I'm trying something out. I'm going to wear these a little bit more this week and see if these are going to be the new show glasses or if I'm going to go back and forth. I actually have another pair of glasses that I've had for 6 or 7 years. I haven't gotten rid of. The prescription is not that far off from what I currently have. So you may see those featured on the show from time to time as well. One that we will be doing here is featuring the preseason AP poll, and maybe on Mondays or Tuesdays, discussing the AP poll that comes out every single week. I don't know if it's going to be a fixture on the show, but when it's a preseason AP poll, y'all, we got to do it. If you're also watching the YouTube, you get a graphic today just showing you the top 25 teams in the country voted on by those members that are able to vote in the Associated Press. Buckeyes are number 3. I'm not really mad about it. There are a few Big Ten teams here on the top 25. Indiana is number 20. Michigan is number 14. Illinois is number 12. Looking for Oregon is number 7. Penn State's number 2. Ahead of Ohio State by 1 in the coaches poll. Those spots are flip-flopped. Ohio State was 2. Penn State was 3. I understand why Penn State is there at number 2 and Ohio State's at number 3. I'm going to bring the graphic back up later on in the show. If you think about the players that Ohio State has right now that have come back and the players that Penn State has brought back, Penn State has a lot more. Now, they did go out there in the portal and got Trevor Pena from Syracuse, good receiver. The belief is that he will be a really good player for the Nittany Lions this year. Still, Ohio State has better receivers than I can tell you for sure. Jeremiah Smith is better, and Cardinal Tate might be better too. So, Trevor Pena, a really good receiver, but Ohio State's receivers might be a little bit better. But when you bring back your starting quarterback, I believe he's in his 3rd year starting, you have 2 of the best in a running back duo in the country in Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. You have, I think, 4 of your 5 starting offensive linemen from a year ago are returning for Penn State. Denied Denton and Sutton is still right there on the defensive end on the edge. Penn State's defense is always strong. And you still bring back your offensive coordinator and you bring in, is it Tom Allen? No, Knowles, excuse me. Wow. Tom Allen went to Clemson. Forgive me. You got Jim Knowles there. I mean, that might be an upgrade. And I understand why the media members that voted in this poll put Penn State at 2. I'm not mad about Ohio State being 3. If you look at who Ohio State is around in this poll, 10 through 1. 10 is Miami, 9 is LSU, 8 Alabama, 7 Oregon, 6 Notre Dame, 5 Georgia, 4 Clemson, 3 Ohio State, 2 Penn State, 1 Texas. If they decided to put Clemson at 3 and Ohio State at 4, I really wouldn't. I think Ohio State's a better team down the road, but in preseason projections, Tom Allen's a really good defensive coordinator. I think Patricia will be better, but Matty P has not been in college since 2003. It's been 22 years since he's been coaching it. It's a long time. Tom Allen's been in college football for a very, very, very long time, and he's a better defensive coordinator than he is a head coach, which is why, since he got fired from Indiana, he has not gone back to try to get a head coaching job. Not mad about it. I think it would have been a gripe if Clemson was ahead of Ohio State just because of the recent slide that Clemson has been on, but the Buckeyes at 3 feels right. It feels I'm comfortable with it. These are also preseason polls. What are you basing this off of? Conversations you have on the phone or emails you send or text messages. You are looking at preview magazines and comparing stats from a year ago and doing your own projections and talking to people that are in the know before putting this together. Those are the things you're doing. And while you're making those things happen, you're not basing your vote in the preseason AP poll on things that have happened on the field. You're doing it off of a lot of it is projections and guess. Yeah, last year was great, but last year does not have an indicator on what's going to happen this year. Spring ball, it's great. That was a few months ago. Guys have left teams since spring ball. Coaches have been hired and fired since that time. There's a lot of stuff going on. So, in regards to the AP poll or preseason poll, am I putting a lot of stock in it that Ohio State's 3, Texas is 1? No. Is that a good way to build up and hype up the game, the first game of the year? Absolutely. One thought I had in regards to the polls when I saw Ohio State in the coaches poll was number 2, Texas was 1. I was wondering if Fox was going to go away from the industry norm, which is using the AP poll to put the seeding or the ranking next to the schools on the graphic. I don't know why it took me so long to get that out, but I was wondering, would they put Ohio State 2, Texas 1 in the graphic, or would they put Ohio State 3, Texas 1 in the graphic when promoting the game? And they stuck with the industry norm and the industry standard, which is to utilize the AP poll, even though 1 versus 2 definitely looks a whole lot better than 1 versus 3. If you do 1 versus 2, I don't think you can truly have the quote unquote game of the century in the first game of the year when you literally have no idea what these two teams are going to be. You can guess, you can make massive projections, but you don't know. Yeah, Arch Manning has a lot of hype. I would not buy into all of it. I ain't buying. I might buy a little bit of stock. I'm not going to buy into the stock that he's going to win the Heisman Trophy. I'm not doing that. Julian Sayin or Kienholz, can they both be really good quarterbacks? Yes. Do we know if they're definitely going to be that? No. These are just projections. So I'm not buying into all the hype, but I'm glad that Fox stuck with the industry standard, which is to utilize the AP poll rankings when putting a ranking next to a graphic. And I saw that on their Instagram, as they already have Texas 1, Ohio State 3, and they're trying to hype up that game, which is in less than 3 weeks, as if that game needs to be hyped up anymore. They're going to do just that. And I don't blame them. It's big noon. I haven't really said this on the show, but there's enough time here for me to get this thought out about this game between Ohio State and Texas. Red River to me has always felt like a game that should be played at night. Now, I'm saying Red River on purpose because Texas and Oklahoma has always been, well, not always, in recent memory, it's generally been an earlier kickoff time. 11 a.m. local. They're in the Central Time Zone, and 12 p.m. Eastern. There for those of us in the Eastern Time Zone, it's generally been that early or first time slot. No matter if Fox has it or ABC has it, it does not matter. It's normally an earlier kickoff. And that game's always live, man. It's always hype. Now, it is split down the middle between Oklahoma fans and Texas fans, so you don't get the true home feel. You got the Texas State Fair, which is right there as well. So that's another reason for a lot of the buzz in the air. But if I think back to the games on ABC or the games on Fox, they are live. The fans are wild. It is a crazy scene. So while I don't like that Big Noon has taken over and utilize Ohio State to make a lot of money and put Ohio State at that time slot over and over and over again, that doesn't mean that fans like yourself can't get loud, can't get crazy, can't go over the top. I remember the scene. in the shoe. Now, I was not there. I saw it on television of fans like yourself going bonkers, literally bonkers, when Caleb Downs broke free and returned that punt for a touchdown. He threw up the peace sign with his white gloves as he went into the end zone. Caden Curry with his hands way up there in the sky. I remember that scene. You know what that game was? A noon kickoff. A noon kickoff. So we can gripe and complain and be upset about the early kickoff. Just stop. I would just advise everybody to stop. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your breath. You ain't gonna change nothing. You're not. Maybe you're a decision maker that can do that. So be it. You have more power than a lot of people listening and watching this show right now. Most of us aren't going to change a thing. Accept what is here and enjoy it and prepare right now to go all out, to go wild and crazy when that game is on. If you're in the shoe, cheer the loudest you've ever cheered. If you've been to Ohio State Michigan game, cool. You know how loud you were during that game? Cheer a whole lot louder. If you're at home with your people, cool. Cheer very, very loud. Act like this is the biggest game of your life. Because there aren't many people that get to live around to watch an Ohio State Texas game once in a lifetime. Some are able to do it twice in the shoe. And if you're able to do that, trust me, y'all gonna want to go wild and crazy in the shoe to make Texas resort to utilizing a silent count. So Ryan Day said, hey, be so loud that Texas has to use a silent count. Why? Because that gives the Buckeyes a big, big advantage and can lead to the Buckeyes upset. Well, I can't say upsetting. You're 3-1, but Ohio State's favored. But beating the Longhorns, which would be the number one team in the country on Labor Day weekend. Thank y'all for tapping Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the portal because my guy Brian Smith, he has latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. He's also going to keep you up to date on what's going on in recruiting all around the country. You can follow the portal and Locked On Buckeyes on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform or jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317 at gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes on a Tuesday. We'll see you next time.